Most of the time when someone thinks they have a fuel problem, it's an electrical problem. But if you want to check the fuel issue, there's a little plug on the bottom of the carburetor here. First of all, you can disconnect this fuel line and pull it out to see if it's running freely. Or easier for me is to just disconnect the little plug. And if it runs out of there at a good steady stream, you know you've got plenty of fuel. And that's usually the only problem if your carburetor was working good before. If not, if it's a freshly rebuilt carburetor, it might be other things.
But if the car was running good and now you're having problems, no start, no run, rough run.
It just suddenly happens. And you got fuel there, then you know it's an electrical problem, and it's usually an electrical problem. If you have a rusty fuel tank, they make a little pencil filter to put inside the fuel tank right on top of the valve that's in there. And if you put that in, that'll screen out some of that rust and you won't have a problem. Otherwise, the only fuel problem I've seen is that fuel line packs up with rust and it doesn't come through.
Is that pencil filter the same for 2829, 3031?
It's 2829 and 3031. It's all the same. It sits in top of the, let's see if I can find a fuel valve here. This happens to be a 3031 type fuel valve, or a late 29, but it sits right in the top of the here. It's just designed to sit right in there. This one almost looks like there was one in there and it got broke off, you can see. But it's just a little pencil filter that sits in there, and it's got a real fine screen on it. Sits up about this high and filters the fuel coming in there. On the late 31s, the shutoff is on the outside on the firewall. And those, you can put one in sideways in there, but it's not as easy on the late 31s with the indented firewall. That's the only ones that'd be harder to put that in.
Easier to let that get plugged up than your carburetor, huh?
Yeah, because it just doesn't take much of a rust to get into your fuel system to plug up the jets in the carburetor.